Shalom. Today, in ninth section in the second age of the Bible, and Patriarch, third person, first person, Joseph. I will deal with 3 points, and the first section, God preparation for the future of Jacob, Israel, through redeem the Joseph. Second section, suffering of Joseph. And third, reconciliation, Joseph with his 11 brothers. And section 1, Joseph have the dream, which means that God preparation for future of Jacob and Israel. God show the future of the Israel through dream of Joseph. Dream of Joseph is not for only the Joseph, but the future of the covenant people. And chapter 37, verse 1, Jacob lived in the land where his father had stayed, the land of Canaan. This is account of Joseph's family line. Very strangely, the place where Jacob first appeared in Genesis is chapter 25. This expression, account of Jacob's family line, maybe appeared in initial stage, but why this appeared in chapter 37? Genesis chapter 3 record dream of Joseph. This say that God work for Joseph is related to God's plan for his family, because we want to understand his family, including Jacob and Joseph. We needed to understand Abrahamic covenant. In Genesis chapter 15, when God made a covenant with Abraham, he said, Genesis chapter 15, 12. The sun was setting. The Abraham fell into deep sleep, and thick and dreadful darkness came over him. Then Lord said to him, know for certain that for 400 years your descendant will be stranger in country not their own, and they will be enslaved and mistreated there. But I will punish the nation they serve as slaves, and afterward he will come out with great possessions. You, however, will go to your ancestors in peace and buried at good old age. In 4th generation, your descent will come back here, for the sin of Amalek has not yet reached its full measure. Here is the verse 13, know for certain for 400 years. And 4th generation, there's a term means that God's covenant will accomplished after 400 years, or 4th generation, 4 generations. So this promise, this statement of fact, descent of Abraham, Jacob and his son, also including Joseph. God has a plan for descendants of Abraham according to God's covenant. Sometimes we don't understand why it happened. For in perspective of the God plan, it is the one part of God's covenant. And here, you attention to verse 2. This is account of Jacob family line. After this statement, the Bible recorded the life and dream of Joseph. This story known by God alone, but nobody understands why this dream was given to Joseph. What is the dream of Joseph? Yes, the verse 2. Joseph, young man of 17, was attending flock with his brothers, the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wife, and she brought to their father a bad report about them. Verse 3, now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons because he had been born to. Their father loved him more than any of them. They hated him. All brothers hated Joseph, could not speak kind word to him. We see the verse 5, Joseph had a dream. And when he told it to his brothers, they hate him all the more. He said to them, listen to this dream I had. We are binding slabs of the grain out in the field when suddenly my sniff rose and stood upright while your selves gathered around mine and bow down to it. As the brothers and said to him, do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us? They hate him all the more because of his dream and what he had said. Then, verse 9, he had another dream. He told it to his brothers. Listen, he said, I had another dream, and this time sun and moon, 11 stars were bowing down to me. When he told his father as well as his brothers, his father rebuked him, said, what is your dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brother actually come and bow down to ground before you? His brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind. Actually, Joseph morally not good. The already mentioned, Joseph sometimes deliver bad word about the brothers to his father Jacob. But God has a plan. Very important. Very important. It is not about our life. It is not about our plan, just God's plan. God's promise is working mystically. Nobody understand God's plan where Joseph had a dream. Nobody interpret real meaning of a dream Joseph had. Brothers and sisters, remember, our life and ministry is being made by God in his promise. He wants to try to accomplish his promise in his covenant, in our work, in our ministry. Remember that. Section 2, the suffering of Joseph. First, Joseph sold by his brothers. Now, also 12, his brothers and had gone to graze and his father's flock near Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, as you know, your brother and grazing the flock near the Shechem. Come, I'm going to send you to them. Very well, his reply. And he said to him, go and see if all is well with your brothers and with the flock, and bring word back to me. Then Jacob, sent Joseph off from valley of Hebron. You see what happened in this place. Please follow me. When Joseph arrived at Shechem, first place, a man found him wandering around in the field and asked him, what are you looking for? Joseph replied, I am looking for my brothers. Can you tell me where he gazing their flock? They said, move on from here. The man answered, I heard them say, let's go to Dodan. So Joseph went after his brothers and found them near Dodan, but he saw him in distance. Before he reached them, they plotted to kill him. As soon as his brothers look Joseph, they want to kill his brother Joseph. And they said, verse 19, here come that dreamer. They had to each other. No, Joseph is not dreamer. He's planned by God, not his dream, not his plan, just by God, and God plan it through Joseph for his plan. And verse 20, brothers say, come now, let's kill him. Threw him into one of these cisterns and said, the porcous animal devour him. Then we'll see what come out of his dream. Wow. Human being, very, very, disastrous. They want to kill Joseph, and they said, we see what come of his dream. And in this place, the 11 brothers and did huge evil thinking about Joseph. And finally, Joseph, is 26, Judah said to brothers, what will gain if we kill our brothers and cover up his blood? Come, let's sell him to Ishmaelite and not lay our hands on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood. His brothers agree. Because of Judah, Joseph was not killed. Sometimes this happens to brothers and sisters in church. Sometimes want to hurt one brother and sisters. But very important thing, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood, family of God. And finally, his brothers agree. That's why Joseph was not killed by his brothers. This is a very sad story in terms of human, but it is a process achieving the promise of God in his covenant given to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. You remember Genesis chapter 15 and 13. Then Lord said to him, know for certain that for 400 years your descendant will be stranger in country not their own, and they will be enslaved and mistreated there. God wants to fulfill his promise. That's why Joseph was sold by his brothers and captive as a slave and moved forcefully to Egypt. Sometimes we don't want to happen, but because of God's plan, these things happen to us. And nobody knows why this sadness happened, but God's providence work to process his covenant. Also, Joseph was sold as a slave, but Bible says God is with Joseph. Chapter 39. Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. Potiphar, Egyptian, who was one of the pharaohs and officials, the captain of the guard, brought him from the Ishmaelite, who was taken him there. The Lord was with Joseph, so that he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. When his master saw the Lord was with him, and the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found favor in his eyes, become his attendant. Pontius put him in charge of his household and entrusted his care everything he owned. From the time he put him in charge of his household and all that he owned, the Lord blessed the household of Egyptian because of who? Joseph. Joseph is a slave, but God said, because of Joseph, I bless that household. Sometimes we complain about our bad situation. I understand. But you don't worry about situation, because let God bless you because of you. Later, all situation will be changed. Why? God works there. And the blessing of the Lord was on everything Pontius had, both in house and in the field. Pontius left everything he had in Joseph's care with Joseph in charge. He did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate. Brothers and sisters, we can change the situation. We don't complain about bad situation. Please change everything through your faith. There is authority from God. The promise from God. You can change everything. God can bless everything because of you. Because of you. But Satan is a continuous. Joseph imprisoned due to Pontius' wife lie. And Joseph become prisoner. Verse 19, when his master heard the story, his wife told him, saying, "This is how your slave treat me." She burned with anger, and Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, the place where the king prisoners were confined. Why happened? This sadness. Already Joseph was sold by his brothers, and he became slave. Now he become prisoner. Why? He never do evil things. Why is happen? Yes, God has a plan for him. And verse 20, latter part, and while Joseph was there in prison, the Lord was with him. Wow, that is a keyword. Lord was with him. This sentence, is yours. Whatever happened to you, Lord was with you. Lord was with you. Whatever happened in your life, He showed him kindness and granted him the favor in eyes of the prison warden. The warden put Joseph in charge of those held in the prisons, and he had made him responsible for all that was done there. The warden paid no attention to anything under Joseph's care, because the Lord was with Joseph and gave him success in whatever he did. Brothers and sisters, very surprisingly, in this prison, Joseph met very important person. That's why Joseph entered prison. Do you understand that? Can you accept God's provision? Chapter 40, sometime after cupbearer and baker of a king of Egypt offended their master, the king of Egypt, the Pharaoh was angry with the two officials, the chief cupbearer and chief baker. Finally, Joseph met these two persons and interpret their dream. Finally, Joseph interpret dream of Pharaoh. Wow. God has plan for you, even though you don't know. Please trust Him. God has a plan for you. Whatever happened to our life, sometimes very upset, sometimes very burnout, and we situation very hard, and our situation very, discouraging. But God has a plan for you. Joseph was hurt, but finally he figured out God sent a very important person to Joseph, who was in prison. If don't enter prison, Joseph can't have a chance to meet this very important person. And finally, section 3, Joseph is in charge of whole land, Egypt. And finally, his reconciliation with his 11 brothers. Chapter 41, verse 41. So Pharaoh said to Joseph, I hereby put you in charge of the whole land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh took his signet ring and from the finger and put it Joseph's fingers. She dressed him in a robe of fine linen and put the gold chain around his neck. He had him ride in a chariot as his second in command, and people shout before him, make way. Thus he put him in charge of the whole land of Egypt. Who made Joseph second in command in Egypt? Yes, God. Nobody can do it. Only God. Only God. Only He can make it. He's a creator. He is a redeemer. He is a judge. Finally, according to Joseph's interpretation, famine followed on the whole world. Chapter 41, 56. When the famine had spread over the whole country, Joseph opened all the storehouse and sold grain to the Egyptians. And for the famine was severe throughout Egypt, and all the world came to Egypt to buy grain from Joseph because the famine was severe everywhere. Finally, Joseph's sons visit Egypt for food. Famine years, many people die. Actually, Joseph and his son is in danger because of famine. That time, God prepared for his people through his servant Joseph. This is a wonderful timing. Nobody expect to happen, but God knows everything. He provide all plan for his people, all his kingdom. Nobody knows, but God knows everything. Hallelujah. And you know, in initial time, Joseph hid his identity before his brothers. But finally, he made himself known to his brothers. Chapter 25. Then Joseph had no longer control himself before his attendant and cried out, have everyone leave my presence. So he was no one with Joseph. When he made himself known to his brothers and wept so loudly that Egyptian heard him. Pharaoh's house heard about it. Initial time, Joseph wanted to hide himself because maybe Joseph don't forget their past sadness. Their brothers sold him to slave. Here, all brothers need Joseph forgiveness, and then reconciliation will come. Sometimes we have this situation, and forgiveness is very, very difficult. But if Joseph don't forgive his brothers, they all brothers will die. But important thing, Joseph confess God, not you. God did everything. Chapter 25, verse 4. Then Joseph said to his brothers, come close to me. When they have done so, he said, I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed and do not angry with yourself for selling me here, because it was to save life that God sent me ahead of you. There is no one we cannot forgive in the world. All people need our forgiveness. We forgive each other, and then reconciliation will come. And God sent me ahead of you. Who sent me? God sent me, not you. Even though I sold by you to Egypt, but with eyes of God, we figure out God sent me ahead of you. And finally, Joseph forgave and welcomed brothers who sold him. 12 tribes of Israel were built in Egypt through Joseph's forgiveness and reconciliation. Thank you. See you next time.